So yeah, let's keep it going. All right, let's talk about our week in Hearthstone, and this is kind of where we talk about our decks that we've been playing, as well as maybe a little bit of Tavern Brawl. But why don't we just jump into decks, and then if we have some time, we'll talk about Tavern Brawls. But wanted to talk about Toast. Actually, we'll have you talk about your genie in a bottle priest.
Oh,
which
do it, man.
yes,
Go.
because I was actually watching you play it the other day, and it was a lot of fun. I felt like you were doing all right too with it.
I mean, I started 8-1, and then I kind of tapered down to 50% over like 60 games.
No.
But, so basically, this whole thing started where one of my viewers suggested a genie with potion of madness interaction. So for those who don't know, you get charged if you play genie and you cast potion of madness on an opposing minion. Like genie gets charged, and I messed with the list a bit, but basically the idea is to instant kill your opponent by giving a genie charge.
That's
divine,
awesome.
divine in there.
That is
Because
awesome.
you don't cast divine spirit on your genie, you cast it on the minion you steal, so you're doubling up on divine,
Right.
you're doubling up on inner fire, so it's really easy to hit those high damage marks. And Rage HS gave me a more refined list, and I was able to win a lot with it. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of times you get, you don't have to win with the OTK combo. Sometimes you just win because on turn 1 you have a 20/20 Noxious cleric. Sometimes you win because your opponent plays a Dirty Rat, which is one of the best minions to steal
Yeah.
from Potion of Madness.
Yeah.
It's high health, right? It's like,
That card is nuts.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to kill your opponents with your own minions. And that's the funny thing. Like,
You evil man.
the crazy thing is, sometimes there's going to be a situation if your opponent just press the pass button every single turn, he wins because everything. I only have Potion of Madness,
Right,
Divine to
yeah.
Enterprise. Like,
Right.
please play something so I can kill you because I got no minions. And they play a Thor sense like, ha, you just gave me lethal. I think the funniest thing to happen is I played Doomsayer and they silenced it, which gave me lethal on board right away because I got double divine for 20 damage.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, people are probably
the
wondering
best.
like why is Emperor Thor's lethal? Because
What is
pint-sized
this priest
potion.
doing,
Pint-sized
dude?
potion allows you to take it with Potion of Madness. So there's like cool combos you can do.
Oh, just thinking of Doomsayer is the best. Like it's
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of OTKs. The most coolest thing is the showing off the interaction between genie and potion,
Mhm,
which is
yeah.
something that a lot of people don't really know about because it's kind of obscure. Yeah, it definitely gets wrecked by the super aggro decks.
no sure. What doesn't
Everything does though. I
Yeah.
mean.
But you have a really good chance to beat Reno stuff because they kind of, they have to build up and they don't really play around 30 damage combos that much because they're teched for aggro as well. Yeah, a lot of fun. Definitely try it out. Takes a while to get used to it, but
Yeah. And this deck has Circle of Healing, Inner Fire, Northshire Cleric, Pint-Sized Potion, Potion of Madness, Power Word Shield, 1 Confuse, Divine Spirit, Doomsayer, Loot Hoarder, Wild Pyro, Acolyte of Pain, Cabal Talon Priest, Aconite Soul Priest, Genie, and Emperor Thorazan. So yeah, it's a pretty concise deck too. And it's a lot of fun. So definitely try that out for all the priest players out there looking for something that's not Dragon or Kazakis. This is definitely something to do.
Although I
sure.
think Reno Priest is one of the most fun decks in the set. To be like, it's also one of the more underplayed of all the the Reno lists that are around. There's a lot of variants to play with that deck, which I like.
Yeah. Speaking of Reno, so I ended up bringing my own Reno Priest to talk about, and we've talked about Reno Priest some, of course, but I focus mostly on greed this time around because
Okay.
like it's so funny, and I talked a little bit about this last week, but when I go through the exercise, like and I always do this too, like it's literally like a weekly thing for me where it's like, okay, I'm just tired of playing whatever meta decks. I'm just gonna literally just build. I just want to just build a greedy deck. And when I go through that exercise, I'm always a little bit disappointed because I'm like, there's only so many Yaceras that I can play, and Arch Sleeper Farm's not really good enough. It is greedy, but in a way it's not that great, too. Unlike Yacera, right? Just continues to make stuff for you over and over and over, and when I look at, when I push that 7+ button and I'm hoping for like all these amazing cards just because I don't give a shit about losing to like the early game, I'm actually a little bit disappointed every time, you know, and I've gone through this in the past with the Ramp Druid too, and it's just like I don't even know what to add that's actually impactful, even if I were extremely greedy. So I kind of went through that same exercise again with Reno Priest and went through different iterations, but I felt like the most greedy one I could build was the Dragon one, just because Operative, you know, in itself is greedy. Historian, of course, right, is super greedy too. So yeah, just basically ended up building like something that's pretty similar to your Dragon Reno, but I have young youthful brewmaster in there just to get another third Kazakis, you know, if you want.
That card is insane in Reno Priest. I actually had it in my first build. This expansion, that card just made its way naturally into the deck. But the more I played it, the more I realized aggro farmed it. So maybe you found a way to make that work.
I mean, aggro is gonna farm like a lot of these things, you know. If
sure.
But the dragon package itself is decent against it. At least the turns 3 and 4, just reacting to that. Turns 1 and 2, you still gotta figure something out for that. But overall, I think it's pretty fun. And it's not like godly awful either against shaman. So this has been pretty fun. Thought Steal, I just threw in there. Just again going major greed to see what
I like
what brings what actually comes with that, and it actually hasn't been too bad. And it's super fun. I'm just one of those guys that has a lot of enjoyment playing Hearthstone with greedy stuff. So I just have to do this every once in a while. So give this a try. It's got, again, mostly your Reno package, but it's got Mind Control, Ysera, Confessor, Thought Steal, just naming some of the stuff that's a little different. And Brewmaster. Those are the main things. So kind of mix and match some stuff there. Noxious, you wanted to talk about a Jade Shaman.
Well, yeah, I haven't really been playing this exact list, but when the expansion came out, we brought a few decks that we'd been playing onto the Value Town, and the only one that really stuck to me that I brought even twice already, so that's going to be the third time, is Jade Control Shaman. I mean, I love Control Shaman. It's nothing I'm hiding from, but this specific, there are 2 lists actually that I brought. One of which runs the N'Zoth package, which I personally like a lot, and the other one doesn't run it. And focuses more on the Jade package with, Manatee Totem as card draw. Both of these lists run double Evolve. Okay, so that's some food for thought. A lot of people said, Evolve was bad. I mean, Devolve.
Devolve.
Not Evolve. Double Devolve. And that card is essentially a Hex. It's a mass Hex in some cases. Can be better in others. It's just a really, really good card. It defeats 4 mana 7/7s. Negates the pirate package by forcing all the pirates to become 1/1s effectively, right? Mm-hmm. Small Time Buccaneer becomes a Wisp, or the Murloc Tiny Fin. So there's really not much power there left after you've devolved the Shaman pirate board. And the best part about all of it is that you actually have ways to heal yourself with Healing Wave in the deck. Some lists run double Genie Water Speaker, some others run Hallow with Elemental Destruction, or any other combination of spells. But this one has N'Zoth, Aya Blackpaw, and White Eyes as Death Rattle package. That's it. Right? So if you look at the Death Rattle package of the list, it's literally Aya Blackpaw, White Eyes, and N'Zoth. And that is in the deck because they're simply trying to get an extra push aside from the Jade development, right, during the game. And what's fascinating about this is you find yourself in a deck where you have double Jade Lightning, double Jade Spirit, double Jade Chieftain, double Jade Claws to get already there 8 sources of Jade stuff. Aya Blackpaw on top with the Death Rattle, ends up being 10. And if you play with Bran, you can actually beat control decks with this. Usually that's been the struggle that this type of list ran through for Shaman is, how do I beat a control deck with like a Reno deck with my Jade deck? Because Twisting Nether is a thing, and now that they have N'Zoth, they can actually replenish at the end of it. And if they play Bran Bronzebeard with Jade Claws and Jade Spirit on turn 9, they actually create 4 golems. Because Jade Claws is a battle cry, even though it doesn't, you wouldn't think about it at first. It is a battle cry effect, so it triggers twice off of Bran, and that means that suddenly you spawn 4 Jade Golems at the end of a game against Control. They've probably used 1 AoE throughout the game because you had Jade stuff. They probably used another AoE on your N'Zoth comeback, and now you have a third wave. Very typical of a Shaman thing, where you just spawn a bunch of Jade Golems again, and that's when you usually win the game. And what helps this list more than ever before is the fact that who is running combo Reno Lock anymore? like most of them have cut it out. So what used to be the weakness of Jade Shaman, Jade Control, that is, was basically, well, I'm too slow, and they always get their OTK together, and I'm dead. Suddenly that's gone, and you find yourself in a very favorable spot against that one. So I'd say that if you want to play a good control deck right now that isn't just a Reno deck, I would say, you know, Shaman with control in mind is just one of the most solid things you could ever do. It's always been, but more so now than ever. It just doesn't lose very often to aggro. It's exceptional against it, so I'd recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. Lately, I think we've seen the rise of Jade Shaman more and more. Like even in the metagame, you know, like it's just because the Reno decks just do so well against it. So Jade is a very good way to sustain and continue pressure just with these cards, right? And it's pretty easy. It's very easy to add them. And the Shaman Jade cards have always been, you know, like the angle of which you use the Shaman versus, say, the Rogue ones is that the Shaman ones are the biggest swingy, or they have the biggest swings on the board because they're weapons, they're spells, so they literally reverse tempo on the board a lot. The Rogues have a Shuriken, but outside of that, they don't have another one, right? So Shaman's able to do that, and that's why it's always been just good. Like when you have an early game and then you have a mid game with the Jade Golems, you know, there's a variety of finishes, and this is definitely one finish with the N'Zoth. And you know, like before, I used to run the Jade Chieftains with Evolve, right, and Doppelgangster. Like I literally just add 2 Doppelgangsters, and instead of the Devolves, I add Evolve, and it's just like it's lots of different guys to you know, evolve into just a lot of mid range tempo. So yeah, it's getting better and better. I'm seeing it more and more every time I'm running, like, you know, Kazakus decks. But how about you, Toast? What do you think of this?
I actually played against this kind of deck a lot at Legend lately. Like, come back, the board clear really deals with aggressive decks well, and double healing wave and halal obviously is really nice. I think my favorite thing whenever I play against decks like this is when they brand Bronzebeard into Jade Claws, which is an interaction that most people don't really think about. It's like, whoa, right. Jade Claw is a battle cry because Brand doesn't specify minions, right? And every time it happens, like my chat goes off. It's like, whoa, what?
Next level play. It's like, did you ever? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really think of it because weapons. Yeah. There's not a lot of battle cry weapons, right? There's like a couple, but so yeah, I really like it whenever these little Hearthstone interactions gets shown off. But yeah, I think the deck is making a really good push right now lately. But then again, it just adds to the more Shaman. Like I appreciate a different kind of Shaman.
Yeah.
When I play against it, it's like
that's what
my first thought isn't gonna be, oh yay, Jade
Shaman. Yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay, fuck this guy. Let me see that Tonetrog. Let me see that small $10 piece. Yeah. But after they play Brand Bronzebeard or some J stuff, I get really happy. It's like, oh, thank God, something different.
Do you really, or are you still saying screw Shaman? Shaman just sucks. It's like class hate.
It's a different anger. It's when they hex my really valuable cards. Because against aggro Shaman, like they don't run hex, right? So you don't really get angry over hex. But against these Shamans, like fuck, 3 mana.
And by devolve, dude, you get tilted so much. Oh God.
Speaking of devolve, I think devolve, there definitely are some times where it is quite useful. It can be useful against Doomsayer. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to actually you know, utilize it. But imagine if the hand buffing stuff becomes super popular, then like devolve, you know, is a way to even negate all that stuff too. So that card I think has a very, very bright future. You know, just the next year we're gonna see devolve plays that are gonna be like crap. That just completely negated my deck. So yeah, I like, again, Shaman rich in tools. I think we've been saying that for a while now, and you know, wish just more of the other classes had stuff like this. It would be really, really nice. Okay, well, I think that's all the decks we've had. Let's see. Tosh, you were mentioning Tavern Brawl real quick too, right? This week. What is it?
Yes,
this week.
So it's a new one. Basically, you pick 10 cards. And every time you draw a card, you discover instead of drawing. So you always have 10 cards in your deck that you can discover from, which is really cool. So essentially, you can like create combos, but it's not like guaranteed combo, so there's nothing broken. And you know, you can mess with your opponent's deck as well by, you know, using Deathlord and pulling out the minion like forcefully, and now he can never discover that minion. So yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of fun. I only played one game of it. I'm excited to try it out.
Okay.
There's a lot of different strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play Gadgets and Auctioneer and Innovate.
Yeah.
Try to discover more Innovate. Although the one thing they changed is that if you draw a card through like cards in your hand, like not just at the start of your turn, you don't get to discover right away. They give you a 1 mana spell to discover. This way you
that's
can
smart.
like
That's smart.
so you can't like try and create an infinite.
It's infinite.
Loop, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
smart.
I think they did a really smart thing in that perspective.
But can't you still go infinite though?
If you're not guaranteed to get Innovate, right? You have a 30% chance to hit Innovate.
Yeah, because it's 10 cards. Yeah. So that's quite a few. Okay, that sounds fun, man. I'm gonna definitely give that a try after the show. It's always great when they try something new. I think this is the first time they've done this one, right? This is a brand new one. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, well, I want to give a real quick shout out to the iTunes folks that have been leaving some nice 5-star reviews for us and great comments. If you do want to help out the show and you do listen to the show on your iPads or your iPhones, as well as Google Podcasts or Stitcher, of any of those different podcast channels, leaving 5-star reviews, leaving good ratings helps people find us when they're looking for Hearthstone podcasts in those spaces. So I want to give a shout out to Spider Dream, James Disney, 1C7, and Razik for leaving the latest ones. And we've been getting a lot of them recently, so it's like awesome to see, guys. Like, keep it up. It again, like, it's even just the nice words, man. It's like it makes us feel good whenever we get a chance to see those things too and making the show. So keep doing those if you can. And that would be amazing. Real quick plug to the Patreons too. We actually have a Patreon for Valuetown, and Valuetown currently is 100% supported by the Patreons. So if you want to, go to patreon.com/Valuetown. Take a look at the things that we got there, and if you really enjoy the show, I encourage you to pledge for it and help us out. We have made the Smilestone milestone, so we will be doing Smilestone in just like a few seconds here. But I did want to give a shout out to some of our patrons, especially the producers, the legend producers, Mike T, Lewis G, and a new one, Dean P, for obviously being the big contributors. And a shout out to just some of our other patrons too, who are awesome folks too, have been with us for a while. North Cal, Esther G, Johnson C, William C, Gary D, Dustin D, Alex F, Sasha G, and Jeff B. Thanks so much, guys. Like, again, like, this show is this show happens because of you guys, and we think about that and really appreciate that each and every day. But now, your favorite part, guys, it's time. And Toast, I'm not sure if you were here for the first one, right? We're going to be... Oh, we're not... Okay, so we're doing Smilestone right now.
Toast is like, what the fuck?
This is where we... this is for the patrons. This is where we give our best smile for a good 20 seconds straight. It's yes.
Yeah, this
just
is
our
where
best
you
smile.
stare at
Okay?
the camera unawkwardly,
right.
and you just smile.
Exactly. All right,
you ready?
All right, here we go. So at the count of 3, your best smile. Here we go. 1.
Wait, so we're just smiling
Just
at the camera?
smiling
Yes,
at the
you do
camera.
not talk, you do not giggle, you smile.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's good. I think that was only 10 though, but gosh, we're going to have to work on it. But, okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that our Smilestone segment, the most awkward period in our show, but people love it. So
it's the best period in our show. We could cut out everything and just keep Smilestone.
Dude, you don't know how many comments we get on Smilestone every week. It's hilarious.
They're like, cringe. You're like, yep, that's
cringe, and it's like, I love it too. I totally love it. And we're actually $14 away from our Laughstone, which a lot of the audio folks have been wanting us to do. So Laughstone is really close.
No.
Something to think about for the Patreon. If you want us to hear us laugh straight for like 20, 30 seconds, then make it happen, guys. Totally make it happen.
It is a thing.
Okay, let's talk about events. Since Noxious was at WESG over in China this past week. And I have to say, this is probably one of the most least publicized 150K tournament I have ever seen. I got a chance to watch the last couple rounds, but I don't know how much the community really got a chance to watch it. I don't think I ever saw it get over 10 on Twitch. Did either of you see? What was the high that you saw?
It
This
didn't get.
toast?
It might have
Yeah.
gotten to like 8-9K. I'm not sure
Okay,
if it
maybe,
went
maybe.
above 10K. I haven't seen that. Like we were looking at the stats over there from China and just didn't really go very high. So
Yeah. How was the
publicity
event?
was
How
very
was the event?
low. Yet
Mhm.
it was at the top of the Hearthstone subreddit for a long time. So there's
Mhm.
something there that just didn't happen. Um,
But it's not
I guess
enough,
like there
obviously.
was no hype for it ahead of time, right? Like none of the streamers really picked up on it. It was just a bunch of casters heading there, and the player pool didn't help either. Like to be honest, uh, it
That's
was just
sad
like
though.
a
The
bunch of
player
random
pool. Yeah, I mean, this is very educational though. But yeah, there weren't any huge name players that. There were notable players like people that we know,
Sure.
but not huge, streamers or anything like that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like we had Neria, Orange, we had Sixo, we had some big names, but then it was all people who qualified in their region because that's what it was. It was a regional qualifier that got people in. So if you were the best dude in Egypt, you would actually come in, right?
Yeah.
But the best dude in Egypt is it's not Colento. You know what I mean?
It's not.
Are you sure?
I'm just trying to exemplify my point
Calypto
here.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's been kind of that was the story of the event for me, is just no names that people recognize, and I'm pretty sure that's what caused the event to have such low attention given to it.
Was it at least big in China or over in Asia or not?
I mean, frankly, I don't know the Chinese numbers, but I imagine it had to be. It couldn't have been much lower. There had usually Hearthstone events in China just get a lot of attention.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I would think.
So I would have been very surprised if it were any lower than we had in the West. It must have been better by maybe even tenfold.
Right.
Easily.
Right. So it's hard for me to say was it worth it or not, given that I don't know what the Asian Chinese stats were just on their channels, but
worth it.
Yeah, I mean when obviously if it's just like the West numbers, 150K for that tournament, that's not good. I don't know
well,
other way to put
Alibaba,
it.
right? They're the ones behind it. It's just like,
but still, throwing away money.
Drop in the water, dude. They're literally doing this at an intentional loss to get exposure. Like it didn't even matter.
But they didn't get that much exposure. That's my whole point.
They probably got honestly anything is enough for these guys at that point. Is one of the ways you have to look at it. They have so much money, it's ridiculous. Like when you've got an office in Silicon Valley, and you're rolling in billions, and you're organizing an event, and you're intentionally inflating the prize pool for the sake of showmanship, then do you really give a shit?
Well, okay, so all right. I mean, I have a lot of things to say about that. So inflating the prize pool, that's just inefficiency. I think we've proven that
I agree.
The prize pool has no effect, or very little effect. It has some effect, but very little effect on how many people watch it. Otherwise, a ton of people would have watched this. 150K. I mean, that's one of the biggest prize pools we have all year long.
Sure.
And we had very, very little people watching it. So that has very little to do with it. And yeah, if they have a lot of money, dude, why don't you just support 3, 4, 5 other events in the community that are trying to do some cool things too? I don't know, the Onog stuff or the Fire or Batstone stuff or whatever.
But it's very separate, right? The Chinese scene and the West are very distinct in terms of who is in charge of making those calls.
Yeah. So I mean, exposure in the West, I guess, for Alibaba, there's not very many impressions from that, right? So Alibaba's huge in China. Do they really need more exposure in China? I mean, they're enormous.
Well, they're just trying to be everywhere. Is the way I look at it, right? It's how could I be more in their face?
Okay. Well,
that's the way I look at it.
The only thing I would just question is just the efficiency of the money, because I don't think Alibaba will step away when folks put in this much money and then there's just little return from it, or at least even just stats, then they're gonna be less likely to do it. So yes, it's great for stats. It's probably great for Orange too for second place, and they made a bunch of money and whoever else got money from it. But that's a one-time shot versus the longevity of events being supported, and that bothers me. That's definitely something that's oh my gosh. I mean, 150K for that little viewership is just not worth it in my mind.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, companies from China, especially Alibaba, they have a lot of money.
A
That
lot.
doesn't matter if they have a lot of money.
No, dude, it matters.
It doesn't.
If you buy a pack of gum at the store, that's exactly what they did.
So what? But go buy a pack of... I mean...
I just told you, what they did was buy a pack of gum at the store in their mind.
Yeah, but so they went and bought a pack of gum and gave it to some rich kid. Go buy a pack of gum
Some
and give
rich
it.
kid?
No, well, I'm saying like the equivalent. Like give it to like
Oh.
starving people. You know, like you know what I mean?
Just a
Like
pack of gum.
yeah, I mean
Yeah, and I
they-
get it, right? Because
Yeah.
you know, in
it's-
North America, like 150,000 tournament is a big deal. That's a lot of money, right? But in China, and like we don't like, I don't know if this tournament is aimed for, right? Because I don't follow the Chinese scene, but I know in China, like they have like insane amount of money to be able to like
Prize
sponsor these
pool,
events, like invite big names. I'm surprised they didn't just use the money to get like big names. Like I would give you like
They wanted a qualifier,
But they were
didn't want like
qualifiers.
Western players. It was an international event, so they had some people from
Right.
South America, some people from NA, some people from EU, Asia, SEA. Like they had people from everywhere, right? So APAC had like Stavs come over. And it's like the
It's
goal was
cool.
to get an
Yeah.
international event together and try to create some rivalry between countries. But
Mhm.
as we all know, country rivalries in Hearthstone are just about as meaningful as like a fart in the wind, dude. Like if no
What do
one
you mean?
gives a shit,
We have an NA versus China thing going on
they
right
do,
now,
but
right?
who's putting it together, right? Not NA,
yeah.
right? Like so we just don't care in the West about that stuff, but in China they kind of do. So that's the angle you have to come at it
Yeah.
from, right?
The NA versus China stuff, I wonder if they just sponsor just so they can fly these North American players out for Chinese people.
It probably is actually.
in front of the home audience, like, yeah, we took down these Americans.
Well, honestly, like
it's like Rocky.
there's a
style.
lot of people accusing China. Like whenever you in a match, right, and the Chinese players involved, they're like, "Oh, fucking China's scamming!" Like they're just disconnecting the plug, pulling the plug on the shit whenever their players
Oh my
behind.
god.
It's like a lot of
That's
tinfoil
terrible.
hatting.
That's terrible.
I don't
That's
think they
terrible.
do. Yeah, that's too tinfoil.
No, it's too tinfoil hatty. But
Yeah.
the point is, like, there's this general conception out there that that's what's happening. But the truth is, they do want to prove to the West that, yeah, you know, we can completely crush you in an event. I feel like after
Oh,
the
that's-
Celeste
okay,
debacle
so
in Archon
let-
Team League, it's
let-
been like just something to redeem themselves from ever since.
So the notion of this whole nationalism, or representing your country, not being a very interesting format for the West, that's not true. That is not true at
Okay.
all. It's
Maybe I'm
possible
wrong.
to make it viable, and I think Blizzard even has an initiative to do it this year, right? As one of their
Sure.
off
Yeah.
like side events. So it's just about promotion. That's all it's about. And
Yeah, exactly. Like if every country was kind of on board with it, then make it a thing. Then yeah, country definitely matters. But like for the NA Chinese stuff, it's like it's all China organizing it. They're like putting up the money, they're putting up the players, they're inviting the players, right? So like the
Yeah.
NA players don't really see it as, we have to represent. They're just
Yeah,
they're
it's just
mostly-
there's so many events everywhere that don't
Yeah.
require that kind of stuff.
yeah.
like to them it's just an event to play together against people from China. But
Yeah.
like to China it might be, I don't know, it might be like China versus NA, let's go team, which is fine. Like
That's fine too. Yeah,
sports-
I mean,
that's
like
how
I said,
sports work, like
Mhm.
World Cup and Olympics. But it does feel like it's a one-sided thing for this particular.
It was even worse though. So like to put it into perspective, like that was also the case for other teams of other games, right? Dota and CS:GO were region locked. Like they were region bound. You had to have like basically a team that was represented by a country. And the thing is in Hearthstone, like a lot of the players that are really, really good are concentrated sometimes in the same country. You can't have like 5 Swedes show up. But maybe if it was like a full open, you might have 5 Swedes in your event, right? To take like
yeah.
Swedish example, or Germans, right? We had 2 Germans. We had Bunny Hopper and 6-0 in top 4. Who knows? Maybe we would have had Super JJ in it, or Life Coach, if the qualifier was broader than just
Right. Right.
country based. So like I get where they're coming from, but I don't think it lends itself to the highest level of play, unfortunately.
It's not
Like,
supposed to though.
Shit shows,
Yeah.
dude. Like we had a dude, Wild Growth and Jade Blossom on turn 7. Like please, dude. Like he had a full hand with Ancient of War and shit, and just Jade Blossom and a Wild Growth on 7 and nothing to do with it. So it's like the nerves got to him and he's not comfortable on stage. And like I've been there, so I know exactly what it's like. The point is, the level of play was not as good as the tournament could have been if they had just stepped away from that model of qualifying, or if
Well,
there had been like more steps to go through.
But that's the nuance of the event. It's supposed to be just representing your country and not necessarily we have this discussion all the time, and we have competitive Hearthstone all the time. So like,
Sure, I
having
guess.
something that's where you're representing the country, and maybe one day it'll be a little bit more like the Olympics, where you're just happy to be representing your country, and that's actually enough in itself. We've seen those African swimmers who like almost drown, but they're like, they're like seriously happy to be representing their country, and it is. Come on, guys. All right, I'm just.
This is the best we got.
No, I mean, but it's just like that's like the most extreme example of like what you're talking about. It's like he's not the greatest swimmer. Yeah, of course not. But that's not what it's about.
Like a runner in the 100 meters.
Yeah, it's not what it's about.
Practice in the snow all day. You take out the snow in the boots, and I just fucking fly like Dragon Ball Z.
Oh man. No, but anyways, congratulations to Staz for actually the final series was really good. So. The final series was good. Final game was actually great.
The playoffs were amazing.
Yeah,
it turned out that we actually got every player that was the best in the event. It seems to have actually gone through. Although we had some really big names kind of drop off, which sucked. But there's not enough room for the amount of good players that were there in the top 8. So
yeah,
that was fortunate at least. We didn't end up with like a bracket or a group stage. It was like, okay, so these 5 really terrible dudes are in the same group, and even a poor player is going to make it out. That's not what happened. We actually had some really sick names.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
And Staz might be the first Filipino player to actually win something huge like that. So
dude, that was so massive.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely huge for him, and I think he's been getting a lot of like love in his country too. So mission accomplished, right? For the event, at least in terms of that aspect. The other event to talk about, it starts today. It's ESL Trinity Team League. We haven't actually brought it up on the show for weeks. It's definitely been announced for the last week or two, but I figure we bring it up now. First Team League to be announced since Archon Team League. So I guess, what do you guys think about this? Obviously, the community loves just team leagues. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on just general team leagues. Do you like this? Does this intrigue you guys at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting if they take advantage of team league stuff you don't get in regular games. Because if you just show the games and that's it, it's pretty much just watching people. Yep. Hearthstone, like you don't take advantage of team league. But I think they did a few segments where they listen in on the discussions, like, oh, I think you should do this. Okay, they're gonna play this deck, so you can play this deck and counter this deck. Like that's stuff you don't get, but on a one-on-one tournament. So I think they are doing a good job with that. So, people always say like, what's the point of teams in Hearthstone? It's a one-on-one game, right? And it's a good point. Like specifically, like you're not talking to your teammates in the middle of a game compared to like CS:GO or League. But if you want to get better in Hearthstone, if you want to like learn new stuff, having people consistently to talk with is a great thing. And these are people who are also strategizing with you. So yeah, I mean, team leagues, we don't get too much of those. They seem to be doing really well. The ESL guys seem to put on a high production show so far. And there's been a surprise already. Thijs with the 6-0. Like he beat all 3 opponents, like their entire team using Murloc Paladin just by himself. Like that's
which is actually crazy because Murloc Paladin I wouldn't say is the greatest right now in the metagame, and him winning 6 straight times with it is pretty insane.
Yeah, I expect to see Murloc Paladin on the ladder next.
I hope so, because I'll just be running.
Just play Murloc.
Please play Murloc Pally.
Fucking shredding them, right? Just play like Finley everywhere with like a random Vilefin Inquisitor.
Dude, I remember playing Murloc Paladin like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago and losing 10 straight times with it. Because it's just
feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Just play regular control Paladin and run copies of Anything Can Happen.
Or Vilefin Inquisitor.
Yeah,
it's a good one drop. I mean, shit, it works,
man,
right?
People playing things from below these days. You might as well play one Vilefin in your Paladins.
Yeah, you play one Vilefin and you've literally shredded them. It's just so sad to think about, but it's true.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, what do you think about team leagues, Noxious?
Where I hate country leagues, I actually like team leagues because they're a conglomerate of people who actually play together and have an incentive to practice together. I think there's a lot more meaning in voluntary associations and shit like, hey, you were born there, compete. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I've got nothing to do with where I was born. What am I really representing here? As opposed to a team where oftentimes there's some sense of decision making that goes into joining it. And I think representing a team is more meaningful as a player. And I feel, I don't know, I relate to that more, honestly, like in terms of how much I feel the players involved in that representation. So I mean, I guess it's harder for people to relate to it since you're not from the team of the guy you're watching as a viewer. You can't say, oh, I'm a German, I'm rooting for the Germans. But you can still root for like Live Coach and Super JJ, even though, they're on a team league. I feel like overall that's still true. People still do that. And team leagues just have this element of, like, you get to see how well a team is structured, right? Like, you look at G2, they've been just shredding it for the past forever, basically. Whenever Nihilum's
Since
been
they've
put
been
together,
yeah.
they've just been shredding it. And you can tell that team is a team. It's like, if I had like a gold standard for what a team is, it would have to be G2. And I don't think anything really comes quite close enough in terms, like right now in Hearthstone, in terms of how much they work together, how much they feel like they're synergizing in a way. I mean, a lot of it might have to do with Life Coach, kind of making the whole thing feel like a family. Dad Coach is a thing. But it is definitely, I don't know, cooler to me to watch team leagues than something like WESG in terms of how much I relate to it.
Yeah, I feel like with team leagues, it's like a dual. It's like good and bad for me, or not good and bad. It's just like some of it definitely resonates with me, and some of it doesn't. The part that doesn't resonate with me is just the fact that teams, they're more and more, they're just becoming less and less of an entity in Hearthstone, right? Like Archon's gone now. We still got Tempo Storm. Like you said, we got G2, who is probably the best paradigm for a team in terms of playing and skill, like where you have, like Tempo Storm is probably better at marketing, as a team, and the brand itself. But there's not many teams, just period. So a lot of these teams, I guess it's good for the teams because they're going to get exposure, and people didn't even know that some of these teams even existed. Like, like Varus Pro, I think was playing earlier, right? And it's just like, they have a team, really? It's like some of these people.
VP has a Hearthstone
it's like,
team? Yeah, some people just don't know.
Yeah, so I think that's good for the teams, but overall, for me, it's just like, it's really no different than any other kind of event that just happens to put some players together, and if the teams were, the brands and whatnot were more present in the Hearthstone community, I guess it would be different. But, we don't really see it. Even Luminosity, right? Luminosity has like a stacked ass team, and we really haven't even heard about Luminosity as a brand in the in the game since it was announced that they, added all of these top players that we all know individually. We all see them finish at the top of the ladder, every single month. So yeah, it's cool. It's kind of nice, but again, like I don't know. Part of me just doesn't really see why folks are so crazy hyped about it, But ESL is doing an awesome job of production, and it's good. If you're going to execute it, they're doing a good job of executing it.
Yeah, like in this case, like it's one of the few times where being on a team actually matters. But when you look at like, when you ask like, what's really the point of being on a team? Like people have mentioned that Hearthstone in general, like they don't get too much, team exposure. Like there's really no reason to pick up players unless it's for a team league or you can get it at a super cheap price because there's just no solid reason. These guys aren't playing in a game together all at the same time. But team leagues are propping up, so you're gonna start seeing more and more of these team-based competition, which I'm pretty excited for. Like it gives them a reason to be on a team versus, well, I'm not on a team. This guy offered to sign me, so I guess I'm here.
I'm joining.
Yeah, I'm joining.
Maybe it'll jumpstart the team environment again in Hearthstone. Hopefully that'll be good. That'll definitely be good to support some more players.
Yeah, there's no team rival. There's no real team rivalries in Hearthstone. It's more like player drama. So it'll be interesting to see if anything pops up. It's like, oh wow, Cloud9 beat Tempo Storm in ESL, and just this other league they're playing in. Let's see a rematch.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully more of that stuff can happen because I really think those are healthy, even if it's like fans yelling at each other. Like that's what competition is all about, right?
Yeah, I mean we kind of missed the Tempo Storm Archon rivalry. Now that we're never gonna have it again. Okay, well let's move on to Mekkatroque's Workshop, which is the custom card segment that we do, where we talk about cards that we created or some of the patrons and viewers got a chance to create. We've got, let's see, what do we got here? 5 or 6 cards today. And Noxious, why don't we start with the cards that you brought, which is the cow ones. Let's go with the cow ones first.
Sure. So I made 3 cards. I mean, some of them are kind of very, very conceptual. The first of them is the mythical bovine. So 6 mana, 6/6 death rattle, open the cow level, disregard, the stat line, the cost. It wasn't really balanced too much. And then there's when it dies, it will spawn an unremovable token on the board that will take one of your 7 slots. That's called cow level portal. And it reads at the start of your turn, you summon a 2/2 bovine enforcer, which would be a little 2/2 cow with a bardish. I don't know.
Okay, first off, how did you find that? Where did you find that picture? That is an awesome picture of the
cow.
The cow.
It's a card in WoW TCG called
Oh, is it
Needs
really?
More Cowbell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I kid you not, it's actually called
didn't know
Needs
that.
More Cowbell. So that's just one of the coolest ideas, because recently somebody asked me the question, why did they remove Heroes of Warcraft from the suffix of Hearthstone? Why is it called Hearthstone now and not Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft anymore? I'm pretty sure it's got nothing to do with them, trying to introduce other franchises into Hearthstone, as I think that would be nonsense. But in terms of, like, it's got more to do, of course, with the fluidity of just a new expansion comes out. It's not Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft means Streets of Gadgetzan, right? Anyway, so the idea here was, okay, what if they actually try to put in other franchises into the game? And I'm like, one of the coolest shit they could do is probably the cow level from Diablo. And we had the recent event that you had to do the whole cow king thing. So they've obviously introduced the idea in the past. And I just thought this was a cool kind of memento that actually fits the Hearthstone whimsical style, where you have like a mythical bovine. You're just like, what the hell is this? It's kind of a funny card, kind of like Angry Chicken, and it does something related to a franchise that some people may not be familiar with, will never understand what the hell it's referencing, but a lot of people who've been around the Blizzard, universe for a while will know. So I thought this was just a cool memento. The balance of it is not right, and I also wanted to talk about enchantments as a cool development, tool for Blizzard, maybe in terms of design. I wish they would finally introduce them, because they've been doing so much of it in Tavern Brawls. So many times they've just added those effects in Brawl, and they've slapped it onto minions like Bran and Baron Rivendare, but we don't yet have another card type that is untouchable in terms of minion trading. I would love Lore Walker Cho in an artifact form. I would love to have that guy just stick around and not be touchable, but no, I'm forced to put him as 0/4, and it's just going to die to the next thing that shows up on the board. And this type of mechanic, I think, opens up so much fun avenues where the game just becomes a degenerate, mindfuck fest, where you can suddenly play a really fun deck because you have like a bunch of these cool effects. And maybe like whenever you play a spell, it does 5 different things that are all insane, right? And it just creates this mayhem environment for fun, to be had.
Yeah, we talked a little bit last week about like that. You're talking about enchantments with certain things. So we talked about maybe at least simming auras or getting around it with what they currently have, just with putting them on weapons. Basically, weapons just kind of act as like you have a Lore Walker Cho effect on a weapon, so you can just hold the weapon as long as you want. Yeah. So that's a way to work around it. It's not the most optimal way, but if they are restricted for whatever reason, that is something they could possibly do.
Yeah, I like card types. That's one of that's what I like about just design in general, is adding exclusions to general rule sets. Like right now, like number one, I hate weapons in Hearthstone. I've hated them since the dawn of time, because I think the fact that they give a card charge twice and just doesn't interact with minions on a minion decision basis, right? The minion doesn't get to dictate trades. I just hate that.
Make it 0 attack though, like what I mean? Like,
right, but that's at that point, like, why is it a weapon, right? So like, I get what you mean. It's supposed to be something the guy's holding in his hand.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to have like enchantment decks, where you have a deck that reads something like a minion that reads whenever you play an enchantment, or whatever you want to call those, do something. So suddenly you have like a deck with minions that synergize with this, kind of like Secrets, except they're another card type entirely that takes space on the board. I'm sure we'll get them at some point, 100%. But
Yeah, but I think I saw one of the Blizzard designer comment how this was how they wanted to do auras, like effects, like not seamlessly, like the best way they can do it so far with the current technology, right?
Yeah, without revamping the entire client to accommodate it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've been, I think the first time we saw it, I want to say it's the Karazhan adventure with Dorothy. With that portal shooting out.
There was a brawl at the same time with the same type of concept. You're right.
We saw,
and they're doing it more and more in the brawl. I think with the adventure, with the brawl, that they keep using this mechanic they have, which is essentially an unkillable minion that takes up a slot. I think they really want to do something like that, but I don't know. Like, is this a good enough implementation that they can actually just start creating cards that does that
for it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See.
I
So
think
maybe they're working on like a UI thing where there's a slot for that stuff, and
Yeah.
you can have like a certain amount of auras in your, not in your deck, but on the board at once. So you can't just like stack 5 of them and let mayhem ensue.
I feel like we're getting closer to that because they were talking about red mana before, and I mean I think we're starting to get to the point where they're going to be introducing very new things to.
I'm
to
kind of
the
triggered
complexity.
though because I feel like I brought up the red mana crystals a while back.
I know, well, sure, but
it is so good. It is such a good idea. I'm so sad they didn't go with it.
Yeah, I know that would have been. I mean, I would have liked to just see that level of complexity added to the game. But then, talking about this mythical bovine, and by the way, we didn't even talk about the cards. The folks listening, it's a 6 mana, 6/6 body. It's an epic card. Death Rattle open the Cal level, and then the portal is a 6 mana spell, Cal level portal, epic. At the start of your turn, summon a 2/2 bovine enforcer. That just makes me think the mythical bovine makes me actually think about them adding cards. If we're going to add this RNG aspect to it already, and when we're talking about like summoning certain cards or certain, summoning, we've had summoning random cards in the past, or maybe adding a random card to your hand, just these type of events, right? How cool would it be for these events or having cards that actually summon random events that are excluding gameplay? Or just, I mean, it goes beyond even gameplay. So,
well, like Ysera, right?
No, like beyond this. Like we're talking like Death Rattles. It's like it would read something like Death Rattle, have a random event occur, and then the event could be like you summoning a card or whatever. It could be you get a free pack in Hearthstone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That opens up an avenue for like, I mean, like gain 5 gold, gain 5 dust.
Just whatever, so it's not.
It creates like a weird meta where the only thing people play is like at low ranks is just that kind of stuff. And I mean, sure, it's all right,
okay,
but
right?
No, I don't think it is, because then it becomes like you play a vanilla dude that gives you collection stuff, so you feel pressured into playing that until you.
No, but it's going to be one of these things where it's like it's very rare that you get something that's outside of the game. It's still meant for you to get something that's randomly inside the game. But every once in a while, you get like, a little mini lotto ticket, that's like, oh, you know what? I just got like a free pack, that sort of thing.
I think you
get some reward sometimes, like a machine, like a slot machine reward. Type
a little bit, yeah, for like the super casuals, not like.
But maybe not for cards, right?
Maybe.
Just on a card, it's really odd.
It's a concept, I just.
I don't know. I feel like people will just try to maximize that, as even if it's like the most inefficient way.
Inefficient shit ever. Yeah.
they're just gonna like, duplicate that and do it over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, maybe there's some fun things.
Yeah, it's just some kind of fun random element that happens.
It's very risky. When you introduce stuff like that, because there are people who will look to abuse it as much as they can. So Blizzard has to design it in a way that's essentially can't be abused, right?
And it's so stale that it basically doesn't become fun.
Yeah.
Or like, you really don't want to implement the ability to farm resources within your game, because then the entire game becomes about farming resources, and then you've actually short-circuited rewards in some way.
Maybe it's getting, I don't know, a card back or just something. I mean, it's conceptual again. Like, it's just something.
A card back I'm down for. Like, you tell me trigger Mimiron's head to get a special card back, I'm like, all right, fuck it, we're going in.
That's more of an achievement, though. That's not as much a random element. I don't know.
Well, a random element I don't like. I'm tired of random shit being put in games for the sake of it. Like, every game has them now. It's too much. But that's just like a designer's perspective. Yeah. It's good for like the monkey brain, but it's not so good for. It's true. Yeah. Like, you actually get like a high from that stuff, but I'm tired of.
Well, I actually think that's one thing we lack in Hearthstone now. Like, when people buy packs, they just, the problem with like the net decking and just our meta now is that whenever you get packs and you get a legend, you're just like, okay, I'm glad I got it. I don't have to spend 1,600 dust on it. Basically, it's not like you're opening packs. Like when you're opening, I don't know, a Pokemon pack or whatever, or or a magic, not maybe not so magic, but you know what I mean. It's just that baseball card opening feel where it's like, oh my god, I got this rare card that I'm so happy I have. You know, there's no element of that in Hearthstone anymore. And I don't know, maybe there are for newer players. I'm so far removed from it.
So
but
let's imagine a world where like every 10th pack you get is actually a golden pack and contains like a golden card on top of the 5 ones that you have. Is that something you'd like, or is that too predictable because it's every 10 packs?
It's too predictable in my opinion.
So let's assume you have a chance of getting a golden pack. Is that exciting enough?
Yeah.
Or is that
That'd be nice.
not tied to? Yeah, like,
I mean, that's nice too. I mean,
I don't mind
yeah,
there like
yeah.
being
That's
extra
nice too.
random stuff to get in terms of rewards, but I don't want it to be tied to like the game itself. the
Right,
game
right.
play.
No, I understand that. It's just like, I mean, again, it's like an out there concept, but I you know, it's always good to just at least think about it. Okay, well, why don't we go on to you have a dispersion, right? That's yours.
Dissipate.
No,
oh,
it's
shit,
called
yeah, it's called
dispersion.
dispersion. My bad.
Yeah, it's a 3-mana spell, epic card. It's for priests. Snapcast, which is a new text or new text word or keyword. If you are targeted by a spell, play this and become immune this turn.
So this is basically an ice block that you hold in your hand, and you have to float enough. You have to have enough mana unlocked to actually play it. So the point is, it's a card you hold in your hand, 3 mana. So you have to pass the turn with 3 open mana. So the opponent knows whether or not you can be, holding it and trigger it.
Oh, I see.
So like if you have 2 mana open, there's no way that you can actually get immune to a Pyroblast or something along those lines. Unlike Secrets, which you can set up, Ice Block on turn 3, and then, hey, I have Ice Block for the rest of the game. This is, no, if I want to be immune, I actually have to have this in my hand, and they have to play a spell, and I have to have 3 mana. So the easiest way to not trigger it too early is to actually saturate your mana, right? Like make sure you're very mana efficient, and that way it'll only be available to you whenever you want it. The point is to create a type of instant response, like in Magic, where the guy plays a card, and you say, hey, fuck you. This isn't going to happen. That isn't something like Counterspell. Like, honestly, I'm at the point now where I'm tired of secrets a bit too much. Like, when a mage drops a secret off a random effect, because that's the only way to get them nowadays, I'm actually not having fun. I don't enjoy casting that stuff. I'm just like, oh, look at this player's anguish. Like, his mental anguish right now is reaching levels of fucking inhumanity you don't even understand, because there's like $80,000 on the line.
Right.
And it's hinging on whether or not this dude babbling book to fucking counterspell or not, right? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can really play. I mean, I don't like it. And I think like this type of mechanic, like your opponent can choose to mind game you by default. Right? By keeping 3 mana open. With secrets, it's like, oh, here's this random effect. Good luck. Like diffusing it, and if you don't, then you lose. So I'm not even sure this is necessarily like a mechanic that I want to see in Hearthstone, but I like the concept of Snapcast. One of the things that happens with these types of mechanics, though, is you have to be very cautious with how many of them you implement, right? Because like if you implement one that's like 3 mana, one that's 2 mana, one that's 1 mana, like it gets kind of triggering, because the same issue of secrets happens all over again, where you don't know what to play around,
and they're totally in play at the end of games, like always.
But this one is so bad, right? Like the thing with Snapcast is they're not going to be crazy good. It's not going to be like something that kills a minion you have, for instance. It's like you're targeted by a spell. You could do like anything irrelevant. Like you could try to heal me with Flash Heal and it goes off.
Yeah, you can still play around it, is basically what you're saying.
It's so like meaningless in terms of general impact, aside from that one circumstance where Freeze Mage tries to go off on you. So it's easier to trigger. People can add fodder to trigger it easily. Usually, like every deck has a fodder to throw on this.
I like the concept of having your mana crystal still be in play when it's not your turn. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the concept. I mean, you could probably come up with like a dozen of them. Instant casts are so easy to implement, like in this way. That's what secrets are trying to do. But I believe we've reached a point now where secrets, by the fact that they can be played preemptively, and don't give much information to your opponent, with any like clear indicator aside from the question mark, is just
Ugh. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, this is even more of a mind game. This is even more of a mind game than secrets. So,
yeah.
Cool. Toast, any comments on this card or?
So I never really got into Magic. I think I tried it before, and as a new player, like the experience was like I got all these like cool synergy cards. And I think I played against the guy playing a blue deck, which has
Oh
a
god.
lot of these counter stuff, right? So I play something, it's like, okay, no, you can't do that
It's
because I
like,
played this
what?
card. And then I'm like, oh, okay, let me just play this card then. And he's like, no, I'm gonna counter that too. It does add a lot of strategy, and make control decks more appealing. But I'm sure the Blizzard guy has talked about this with
Yeah.
Hearthstone. It's like they really do want to make it as
It's
simple as
unfun.
possible.
It's unfun.
Yeah, you give up a lot of those strategy in exchange for a more streamlined process. So like even with secrets, right? It's like you tell your opponent that I
Yeah.
have a secret that you have to play around. But I do agree, like when it's babbling book into a secret, it's like, well, shit. Now I gotta either play around everything or play around nothing. Can't afford to play around nothing, because if it's a secret they put in themselves, you can make educated guess, right? It's not gonna be potion polymorph. It's not gonna be mirror entity. It might be counterspell. Most likely, it's gonna be ice block. Like there's a bit of a mind games there, like strategy. But when it's just from off babbling book or capitalist tome, it's like, well, this is not really playing around anything, because I just have to either test, let me just coin, let me just target this spell, let me just play a weak minion, or I just have to go, all right, I'm not gonna play around anything, big minion down. If it's potion polymorph, if it's mirror entity, well, I guess I just lose because he got that specific secret. Um, but yeah, like it would be interesting to see if Blizzard ever goes down to the whole floating mana strategy, because in Gadget Den, all that red mana stuff was a mechanic. Like if
Right.
you float a mana,
Yep.
you get benefits from it.
Yeah.
But apparently they just didn't think it was
I
up for it.
still think it's on the table. It's just not
It's gotta
this
be,
release.
on another iteration perhaps, but it's
Mhm.
definitely something they're gonna. I mean, I'd be surprised if they threw any concept out at this point, aside from like the most glaringly anti-fun shit, like "Hey, discard your hand, my turn," or "I'm taking control of your turn." Like that type of stuff is probably not something that's gonna happen. But all the interactions that let the players plan ahead of time. Stuff like dispersions, for instance, which is kind of an extreme example of, hey, you're shut down.
Yeah.
Like that stuff, red mana, they definitely are talking about it and trying to find an elegant way to make it happen. I think that's what it comes down to, is
Yeah.
elegance of design.
There's a lot of existing cards that make it hard to create cool effects. One of the designer today actually said they had a minion that was like a reverse genie, in which case you cast a spell on that minion,
Right.
and it duplicates that spell on every single other minion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this means if you genie and naturalize, your
Mhm.
opponent draws 2 cards for every minion on the board. So you can pretty much insta mill your opponent with that combo, and it really sucks because it seems like a cool effect, right?
It really sucks unless you're making an 8-mana guy, and then who cares? Right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it would. I feel like that's the type of win condition Mildred would be like, sure, I'll take it at 8 mana. It's really fringe, but maybe I can make this work. And that means they're not naturalizing until turn 8. So like,
Yeah.
there's probably a balance point you can strike with this card that you're mentioning that probably
Mm-hmm.
works, like a legendary 8/8 or whatever.
Yeah, maybe once Storage Center rotates out, so the combo potential is like a lot lower.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it'd be nice to see a mill possibility
Yeah.
right now. That's one thing that we're just completely missing now. And people talked about Jade Idol. It's one thing we didn't quite get a chance to talk about with one of the comments from one of the designers. But I miss that ability. It doesn't have to be straight fatigue warrior. I mean, because I think that's what they just didn't want people to play anymore, are these boring ass fatigue warriors that just remove and shit. But the old rogue was actually really fun and difficult to play. Just I don't know how many times I watched Ryzen play that deck over and over and over again. In the past, but we could use one of those decks just in the metagame in some weird corner case scenario, because it's good. I think it's good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I just like fun stuff. Like I just want more amazing fun decks that do crazy things.
Yeah.
I just like them. I like combos, and I like the reaction, of a new player to a combo that they've never seen. Right?
Exactly.
Like that's the cool thing, and I feel like we don't have too many of those right now, aside from Avian Akun. It's like, oh, I know what this is gonna do. Like I know, like the first time you encounter Leroy, PO Faceless, you're like, holy shit, that was nuts. But like, how many of those?
We don't
exist in
have
the
those
game
much
right
anymore.
now?
I mean, I think the most,
Right.
I think the latest one that we've seen was the one with Fool's Bane and the
Yes.
yeah, I freaking love that. That was so fun to
Yeah.
play. Unfortunately, it's just not good enough anymore. You know, like you can't survive long enough with that deck anymore. So I was trying it the other night to be to actually uh, to be specific about it, and I couldn't get it to work. But that was so cool. You know, it's like a puzzle. You know, working out if
Yep.
you can win a game like 6 turns in advance, you know, and trying to figure it out. That's really awesome. Okay, well, let's move on to the next 2 cards. We got 2 more just from a I believe it's a
I have another
viewer.
one
Oh,
that
did
I
you?
put in. I think. Yeah, the
Oh.
hunter one. Well, whatever. We can do it afterwards.
Oh, actually, yeah, you have the hunter one. Let me pull that up real quick. That's a friendly tech. Friendly fetch. Friendly fetch.
Yes.
0 mana. Shuffle a friendly beast into your deck. At the start of your turn, draw all copies of it.
Interesting.
Friendly beast. Shuffle a friendly beast into your deck. So
you
one
take
that's
a
on
beast
your
on the
board.
board.
Okay,
Because,
one that's
like,
on the
let me
board.
explain it.
Okay.
You take one of your beasts that you have on the board, put it into your deck, and then at the start of your next turn, you draw all the copies of it you have into your deck. Now,
Okay. So
whether
you
you
should have 2.
put them in through other means, whatever, it's a 0-cost spell. The point is you lose board voluntarily to then regain that beast into your hand next turn. So it's usually on average pretty bad, but it's going to cause a spot where you're going to get your natural draw off the top, and then you're going to get the 2 extra beasts. So it's actually creating like some measure of card draw that's pretty good. But it's losing you a lot of tempo. So it's only going to be good in cases where you're looking for combo pieces that happen to be beasts, like double Timberwolf. You want to get them because you want to combine them with Unleash, whatever the case may be.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I just thought this isn't an effect that's good right now, I imagine, but there's got to be a world where you play high main, it doesn't die, you trade into it, it's a 6/1, and then you smash it back into your deck, and then hey, get the second one out at the same time,
I think it's
and then
good.
replay it on the following turn, right? It's just a cool combo card that has potential in the future if Blizzard designs around that kind of stuff. But yeah, we don't know. I just thought
I
the
think
effect was really awesome and janky.
it's interesting. I mean, this definitely falls in the line of how hunters draw cards. They never draw cards in a very orthodox way. They always have to draw it in some weird, like okay, we can, just flip cards to see who gets. If I get a higher card, I draw a card, or or it's some kind of ball of spiders, or whatever it is, right? It's kind
like
of,
if they ever had a gang up for Beast, or like I don't even know, right, what they're gonna do with design space in the future. That's kind of the point. It's like who knows? Maybe one day there's like a card that transforms every beast in your deck into. Let's go with Weasel Tunneler, right? Like as a meme that people like. In the chat, people are mentioning Weasel Tunneler a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, what if it transforms all your beasts into Weasel Tunnelers, and fuck it, just get all of them in your hand and drop them on the board.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's your game plan from here on out. So I don't know. Could be a lot of fun stuff.
All right. Well, let's see. Actually, why don't we save the next 2 for just our next show, just because we're kind of running over here, and get to a couple emails just to finish off the show. So Haslock 8 to be specific, has a quick question about Hunter. If 2 mana Hunter weapon existed now, would Hunter be playable?
Well, it really depends on what the let's say Glavezuka, right? 2 mana weapon that was pretty good back in the day. Like would you see Pirate Hunter? Because you can curve it out, right? So like when I look at when I look at Shaman and Warrior right now, they both have a 1 mana weapon and a 2 mana weapon. And I don't know if it's just a 2 mana weapon like Glavezuka, is it enough to justify running small time buck? I'd say no. Just because if you only have 2 copies of a 2 mana weapon and you run small time buck, you have to hit it. If they had like maybe another 2 mana 2 attack weapon or a 1 mana weapon, then definitely yes. But I don't know if 2 mana weapons enough.
I agree. I've heard a lot of people say, Glavezuka would solve the problem. And my response to that is, well, when warriors are running 6 weapons between Upgrade, N'Zoth's First Mate, and Fiery War Axe, and you're looking at 2, I don't see how you're getting away with it.
Well,
I just
don't see
it.
I think you're right. I mean, very few decks beat warriors straight up, just like that. just because warriors are so fast. So I think a better thing to think about is really, can Hunter beat other classes? Like even maybe just consider the Shaman Pirate, but let's just talk about just some of the Kazakus decks, and the Reno decks. Can Hunter beat those decks with a faster start? And I don't know.
I don't know what faster start they have right now. Like, that's the thing. Like, Fiery Bat, that's it.
No, but what I'm saying is, if they did have a 2-mana weapon, I think they could
I know,
run
but,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but like they only have 1 2-mana weapon, right? Like, and it's, I mean, they would have to be good. It would have to be really, really good, and it would have to be consistent enough on turn 1 that it doesn't need the patches package, and it's just like the extra thing they slap in because they can, and they don't really need the minion.
Right.
Right.
I actually think it's really close. My personal opinion. I think Hunter still, if it can just have tempo after the first 2 turns, can still push a lot of damage to your face very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about just speed, tempo, Hunter. We're not talking about, mid-range Hunter or anything like that, because I don't think that can win at all anymore. But if you can get 5 damage, holy shit, in the first 5 or 6 damage in the first 2 turns, that's enough, man.
It's just tough right now because you're either playing against Patches deck, which are a bit too fast for you, or you're playing against Reno decks, which means your hero power have a hard time grinding them out. Because, Hunter isn't traditionally like a really, really fast kill deck, right? They generally like play some tough minions like Savannah Jaime and like, a couple of kill commands on turn 8 or 9 to really like just burst you down with the high value minion in the mid-range game. Which means, your opponent has a lot of time to draw Reno Jackson, and now, the whole counter's resetted again. So I just think right now with Patches and Reno being the 2 main decks out there, it's just really unfriendly for Hunter in its current state. I don't think Hunter's bad. I just think it's a really bad meta for Hunter. Obviously, 2 mana weapon does help.
It's really bad for it's really bad for that class in this meta when other classes are doing a better job of what you're supposed to be doing, and that's the issue right now.
Saying it right. Like, they would literally need a few Mekkatroque workshops ago, I forget when, I made this 1-mana card that gave you like a 1/3 weapon or a 0/3 that didn't do anything. Like, it was like this 0/3 weapon that just like webbed minions when you attacked them or whatever. Like, it made them unable to attack on the following turn. Like, if you have enough of those, cheap weapons and cheap effects that they can double up as weapons, stuff like upgrade.
Right.
Then sure, I'm sure the fight package just makes a ton of sense, even if it's played defensively. Even if you play defensively in Hunter for no reason other than because I need the early game to stabilize, it would be viable. But because they don't have like 1 and 2, I think 2 alone would not be enough. Like, would Warrior be able to do Pirates? Like, just try it out, right? Go ahead and build Pirate Warrior, cut out N'Zoth's First Mate, cut out Upgrade, and let me know how it goes. And all you have is Fire War Axe and, Arcanite Reaper. Let me know how consistently you get that 3 damage push off of your Small Time Buccaneer, and how, worthwhile your Pirate package really is at that point. That's the big question for me.
Yeah, the consistency is obviously not going to be as good, clearly. But even like you said, defensive-wise, at least you get that Buccaneer probably down to sometimes down to a 3/1, after you've traded the patches, and if you traded he trades into your Buck or whatever. So even from that standpoint, it's better than what they have to deal with now, which is actually ridiculous. Like, they're going to have two minions on the board versus your none. And that's with Alley Cat. Alley Cat's supposed to be good.
It is good.
And it's like,
Alley Cat is actually
it's
pretty
so
good.
sad. It's like, not even, it is. It's just, it's not compared to that opening. It's so sad. It's crazy. But okay, anyways, next question from Brent. Last question we got here is talks about custom modes. And goes in and talks a lot about like StarCraft, how they have like all kinds of different custom settings, I guess you can do, and talks about how maybe we can possibly do that with Hearthstone in terms of how much time you have to play, like maybe concepts of speed Hearthstone, or even certain cards or certain card pools or bans, whatever, that sort of thing. Do you think we'll ever see this type of ability in the game ever? And if so, what kind of custom modes would you like to see?
Well, I mean, never say never, but I don't see it for
10
the
years
next,
from now.
I don't see it for the next 2 years. It's just like something. It's very cool, neat, like to challenge your friend and be able to say, "Hey, we're only playing with GVG cards, so all your non-GVG decks are banned," and the game will like reinforce that, right? I mean, you can do that now. You can kind of do the custom thing now with your friends. Like, all right, I'm gonna have a timer, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna. Obviously, that's not as fun, right?
Yeah,
But
of course, because it's not within the.
yeah.
Well, it's just harder
fine.
to organize, right?
I just don't think it's something people really ask for. It's a nice to have, but on the list of nice to haves, I'd say that's like very near the bottom. Um,
Yeah.
I think people rather have tournament modes and replays.
No question. I mean, there's definitely no question that there are lots of things higher priority than that.
Yeah,
It's
but I
nice
think
though.
you're right. Like,
It's-
if
it's-
tournament mode does happen, though, like I think that extra restriction is like the technology is there. We've seen it. Cards are banned in Tavern Brawl, right? Like the secret eating stuff against Diablo, whatever. Like they have the tech, so it's just a matter of once the tournament mode gets here, which hopefully at some point it does. Then it's just a matter of adding that extra layer of customization onto that client, whether it's external or within the client itself.
What custom modes would you like to see in the future of Hearthstone?
Pauper would be great, like commons and rares only.
I'd like to see Speed Hearthstone, to be honest.
Blitz would be my favorite thing,
Nas
dude.
Hearthstone.
Like just a Blitz tourney.
Yeah, like a Nas Dormu Hearthstone. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
And
there's
say-
probably like a lot of cards you can't play. You definitely can't play auctioneers.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you can't play
Or Walker
Joust
Cho.
cards.
Or there are cards you play just totally fuck your opponent, right?
Yeah, no rocket chair is a good one because your
Yeah.
opponent, if they play a spell, it takes a whole like 3 seconds for the animation. Yeah.
Well, even Ragnaros takes like half of your timer, probably. Yeah.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be very cool. Maybe they could do it for Brawl, like just have speed mode.
I
If
think
it
they
does-
said they tried it, and like at 15 seconds it broke the game. I think 30 is more reasonable.
Uh-huh.
I think
Really?
15
15 seconds
like-
broke the game? How did it break the game?
I think it's because
Have you ever played Nas? Like I
Yeah.
do.
I
I
have, but how did it literally break the game?
it just breaks the game. Like literally turns overlap for like if you play okay, let's say I play Nozdormu against you, your turn comes around, you do your thing. Usually that turn is fine. What's not fine is when I go Nas and then you play your turn, then my turn comes around, but at the end of your turn, instead of just being nice and passing, you went like full fucking retard on Brewmasters, hopping each other back to the hand. And you played Lord Walker Cho while playing spells, and you queued up 5 coins. My turn
Right, right.
Yeah.
turns back. So the issue is never the first turn, unless there's like a really crazy combo the guy pulled off. It's the turns after that, and as it goes, it just gets more and more degenerate. So
Yeah.
if you start at 30 seconds, I think you're.
I thought
like,
they fixed that. They
Blitz
never
mode is
fixed
awesome.
that.
I think they added band-aid solutions. So sometimes
Yeah.
right now with the rope, you actually see it increasing when you make
Right.
the play.
Yep. I know what
Exactly,
you
just
mean.
like
That-
keep bouncing back.
Yeah, but you can eat into your opponent's turn, and you don't really notice it because you have like 75 seconds right now.
Mhm.
Because losing 5 seconds, then it's not a big deal. You probably don't even know you're losing 5 seconds. But in the 15-second Tavern Brawl game, like 5 seconds is like a third of your turn, and you don't really notice it. It's like, what? Wait, this turn feels a lot faster than my previous turn. I don't know what's
And
going on.
the rope just goes down.
Yeah. 'Cause
Well,
the rope sometimes-
Yog is the biggest offender. Holy shit.
Yeah. But yeah, if they can fix that and how the whole timer system works, then I can definitely see a blitz mode being pretty funny. It's like, oh god, rope. Yeah.
I think that would be
Oh,
super popular.
that's so good.
I think if they made that into a tavern brawl, that'd be one of the most popular tavern brawls.
Yeah.
Consistently too, like people
Yeah.
wanting it back. So
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we do see something, or at least them creating some more new modes like that. But from the standpoint of us making custom or having that ability, I don't see that for at least 5 years. I mean, I'm just guessing.
It
given
goes
that
by
there's-
quick once the infrastructure is in place, right? Like
Think
the
so?
thing
Okay.
is, how long until tournament mode? That to me, that's the big question. Once we have that timeline, then I think within a year you can add the customizations. Like a year later.
Okay.
So
yeah.
if it takes 4 years for tournament mode, you're right. 5 years for customization.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I want to wrap up the show, but I guess one little thing before we wrap up the show. Did you guys see Life Coach get 8 patches in a row?
Yes.
Did you see it?
I didn't see what
Test?
happened.
Life Coach had 8 straight games where he got 8 patches in his hand, like mulligan. 8 straight times, dude. I think they did the math on it, and it's, what was it? It was like 1 in like, I don't even know, crazy amounts of zeros.
It's about like 3% for one game.
Right.
So you have to like.
It's higher than that for one game, right? Because you're actually seeing like, say 3 cards, maybe 6. So like 6 cards out of 30, you've got a pretty good chance of getting it. Like it's upwards. It's like 15% ish, isn't it? Like each individual game. Because it's 3% per card, and you've got like 4. Let's say in your
even
opening
it's
hand,
15% of that. It's still like.
Oh, now we're talking
1 in
like
a
12%
million.
of 12%,
I mean, we're talking about,
12%
yeah,
of
we're
12.
talking like 1 in a
it's
million.
ridiculously
still.
low.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
It's crazy, man. Watching, you should watch it. Anyways, the links are definitely in the show notes. So those of you that aren't aware, I always put the show notes in the links for on ChanManV.tv. So for the Value Town episode, you can find it there. But the video is so funny watching him. Life Coach too. He's just doing the math too, right? Every time it happens, he's like, "Oh my god!" Then he's just adding on another 0 each time.
It's not
so
like it's like
hilarious.
billions, right? At that stage,
It might
like,
be billions, actually.
It's got to be like some ridiculous fucking number.
It's crazy, dude. Totally crazy. But all right, why don't we round out the show with some shout outs? Toast, always a pleasure to have you on, and particularly today to talk about just all the developer stuff. But where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Disguised Toast, or on my Twitch, which is Disguised Toast with a HS at the end, and I'll be streaming after this, so come check it out.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. And fun decks today, or?
I think I'll play mostly Tavern Brawl. This Tavern Brawl looks pretty exciting.
All right, sweet.
Happy, excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it out too. Noxious, shout outs.
Yeah, big shout out to Complexity as usual, the guys on the team, and hopefully the year that's coming in terms of results for them should be good. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at COL for complexity_Noxious, and on YouTube, Noxious GLHF. I haven't been uploading much since I was in China, but I'll try to resume that tonight or tomorrow.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And I'll round things out by thanking both of you guys, Toasty and Noxious, for doing the show with me today. All the folks that were watching, and I would say follow the show's Twitter account. I'm so bad at actually promoting. I never do. So follow at ValueTownGG. I always announce when the shows are on that account. Obviously on my personal account too, I try to do that. But you can check out all the VODs for the show on youtube.com/ChanManV too. All the previous episodes are there, and this one will be up a little bit later tonight. Of course, on iTunes, if you're a podcast listener, you'll find it a little bit later tonight and early in the morning. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. And just one last reminder, again, if you want to support ValueTown, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/ValueTown. Go check it out, and throw us a pledge if you enjoy the show and what we do. But that's going to be it, guys, for ValueTown this week. So for Disguised Toast, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.